Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Galactopod, where we talk about a galaxy worth of different topics. My name is Nico.
My name is Logan.
And today we're going to be trying something a little bit different. We have yet to properly review a video game before on the channel. And you could probably guess by the title of the video, the title of the segment, that we will be reviewing one today, InFamous Second Son. We're doing this more so just so that we could kind of get used to this kind of format of reviewing a video game for when other games come out, like Insomniac's Wolverine or like the God of War game that's coming out as well. That's another one we might do. So this is kind of just getting used to that kind of format of reviewing a video game in order to get to those games when they do come out. But Logan has been wanting to review this one for a very long time. So
I will give a little backstory on the game.
Okay.
So it's not this kind of part of the genre isn't as popular anymore. But in 2014, when this released, this game and Prototype were kind of hailed as the two best ongoing superhero games. And the InFamous franchise in particular was kind of in like gaming communities, more like broader communities preferred the Arkham games consistently. Gaming communities generally talked about InFamous as being the better games. So InFamous Second Son, when it came out, and probably all the way up until 2018 Spider-Man, was considered one of, if not the best superhero games of all time. It's released by Sucker Punch Studios, which is the same studios who released the Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Yotei games. So obviously a very good studio.
I actually want to start, after we give our ratings for the game.
I want to start with the cons.
I want to start with the cons as well, because there's a lot of stuff I have to say, especially about the cons. So first we'll give our ratings for InFamous Second Son on 3. 1, 2, 3, 7.5. Yeah, I thought you would give it way higher than me, to be fair. I want to start with the cons, and that's that my first con...
My 3 cons are stuff you're not going to know about, so
Fair, I don't know. But my first con is a very, broad one, and I'll get into specifics with the later cons that I have. Is that, for me, I've always said this, right? Regardless of what we're reviewing, whether it's a movie, whether it's a TV show, whether it's a video game, a story game, whatever it is that we're reviewing, I've always said the story for me always comes first, right? Mm-hmm. I'm willing to excuse pretty much anything if your story is good to great, mm-hmm. right? And even though this game does have a really good story, right? In my opinion, you're definitely going to disagree with this. In my opinion, it struggles to be good with pretty much almost every other aspect outside of the story for me.
Yeah, no, you're wrong. You're wrong.
No, that's my opinion, and I'll give very specific reasons as to why later. But in my opinion, the game's story is great for me. The story is amazing. There are certain aspects about the gameplay and other stuff I'm going to get into later that really struggles for me to say this is a great game or to put it in the same tier as the Arkham games for me. And again, that's just my opinion. I know you really like these games, but in my opinion, that's what it is. But give your first con. I want to see what you're going to say.
Let me check. There are three cons that I genuinely believe to be problems with this game.
Okay.
The first one, and this is a big one for me, and this is the only reason I do give it, realistically, if I was being a little less biased, I would say this game's probably an 8.5. I give it a 9 out of personal bias.
Okay.
The reason I would say this is an 8.5 without bias, mainly, is because of the 2 major boss fights.
Yeah.
The first boss fight is against Eugene in his lair. It starts off good for the first 5 minutes, but it is way too long and way too drawn out. And it's like you're fighting on moving platforms. It makes it kind of annoying if you don't have the smoke power. It's a very annoying boss fight. You have to use your missiles. If you miss your missiles, you're fucked. You have to go find some recharge, whatever. And the final boss fight of the game, I think they had such a good concept for that final boss fight. And that is, you absorb Augustine's concrete power and then kill her with it, or fight her, whether you choose to leave her alive or kill her. But it makes it annoying where you spend half of the boss fight dodging her attacks because you have to, like throughout with your other powers, you have to get the fucking the boxes to actually unlock all of the abilities with that power. So it just makes that entire boss fight feel way slower than it should be. It's like, for a game that had a lot of its mechanics down, their boss fights just were not it. Especially because, like, you could tell they wrote them down with the concepts. The Augustine boss fight, she turns into this massive, like, concrete, like, snake, insectoid type creature. It looks cool as fuck. But then you're just in the fight, and it's like, I don't know if you ever played the old, what were the Starkiller games called?
Force Unleashed.
You know the scene where you're pulling down the Star Destroyer?
Yes.
Have you played that scene?
Yes.
It literally feels like that scene, where it's like, in concept, it's cool as shit, but then you're sitting there dodging TIE fighters for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm gonna get into the general combat later, but my next one has to do with something that I feel like it is a bit of a nitpick, because I think it more so is a victim of the fact that it did came out in 2014. So it's kind of just like a victim of like the time, I guess. I do think that the character designs, in my opinion, were pretty bad. I think
designs?
Yes. I think they were pretty bland and boring, and they didn't move. Like, in my opinion, okay, Delsin for a main character design was not very good, in my opinion. I didn't like it very much. I thought Reggie was just Reggie, right? He's just a normal ass guy. Augustine didn't have, like, it was just very basic, like, give the villain a trench coat design. For me, it wasn't the best.
I can agree with Augustine, but Delsin is the one I have to disagree with, man. He has one of the,
I don't know. Listen. I already said that everything I'm probably going to say you're going to disagree with just because you like the game.
I'm not even saying that because I'm not even just saying that because I like the game.
From just a design perspective, I just didn't like his design very much. I just didn't like it. I just didn't like it. That's it.
Okay, hold on. I'll agree with you on Augustine, even though I do kind of like her design. Even she's bland with a trench coat for a reason, because she's supposed to represent a certain aspect of fascism. But I do agree with you that it is a bit bland. Like, I'll give you that. Reggie, he just looks like a basic cop. Whatever, I'll give you that. But Delsin specifically, one, especially with his jacket, where the jacket changes depending on what your karma is. Two, with the chains and how those incorporate into his powers. Three, I think the entire fit is just pretty. Delsin has a pretty good design, especially for an original main character.
I mean, I don't know. I just think it. I don't think it's terrible. I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just saying it just didn't. I just didn't move me. That's it. But that's the thing. I said that's what I said before. It is a bit of a nitpick, but it did kind of like when you're in this world with the fucking conduits and stuff. I think that there was a lot more they could have done, and maybe this is just the fact that it was because it was a 2014 game or whatever it was, right? But I feel like there was a lot more they could have done to kind of make the world seem more like, I don't know, like fantastical, because you have a lot of these powers that are in essence very like fantastical.
You're looking at it the wrong way, though.
Well, bro, listen, I'm telling you how I see it. You have played this game since it probably came out. I played this game to review it just now, and I'm telling you, as someone who just played the fucking game, I'm saying I don't think that it was as good as it could have been. That's it. That's all I'm saying. I feel like the designs could have been better. That's it.
I mean, I can agree with you in some points, but like saying making the world more fantastic, the whole point of, if you view it from like an X-Men lens, where it's like mutants are trying to blend into society, that's why when you look at like Fetch with her crazy pink hair, that's why she's like one of the only conduits that are known by name by the people, is because she sticks out so much.
Yeah,
that's
I'm
why,
saying
like,
even her design was not that good in my opinion.
I think it was okay. I think it was cool with her power. I don't think her design was anything crazy. Like, I'll agree with you on everyone but Delsin. That the design.
Okay, so we agree on everyone but Delsin, and yes. That's just personal bias. Like, I just don't think it's amazing. Yeah, that's it. But like, I think the character designs as a whole were not that good.
Yeah. Okay. So my next one is actually a major character in the story, and that's Eugene. Eugene, for me, was just such a lame character. Like, especially because right before Eugene, the conduit, you're spending all of the time with a Fetch. And Fetch has an amazing story. of her parents calling the fucking dupes on her, and then her running away with her brother, all of the stuff with the drugs, her accidentally killing her brother, her going to Curtain K being trained as an assassin, and then you have Delson, who just spends all of his, or not Delson, then you have Eugene, who spends all of his time on League of Legends. Or Heaven and Hellfire, excuse me. And his whole thing was he was bullied in school. And it's like, dude, like, I want to feel for you, I do. But when I'm going from a girl who has had one of the most miserable lives someone can possibly have to someone who was bullied in school because he was a loser, I just don't care about your story. His whole thing, like, even him specifically, like, I think when you do the good or bad path, I think it's interesting with him. But I think he's like an 8 out of 10, but he's so underwhelming compared to Hank and Fetch that it just makes him look so much worse. Even though his backstory is kind of lame, I don't think he's a bad character by any means. I think he's a pretty good character. It's just, he just looks so disproportionately worse compared to the other two.
I mean, fair enough. I don't know. I don't really have an opinion.
I do think the TV powers are the coolest, though. Like, visually, they're the coolest.
But I'll move on to my next one, and this is one you're definitely going to disagree with. Like, and I know for a fact the second I say this, you're going to say, well, everyone else who's played this game thinks differently. I don't care, right? This is my opinion. And in my opinion, I did not like the combat system at all.
I know why you didn't like it.
The combat system at all. And I'm going to go into specific details as to why. The animations while doing melee strikes take so long that you almost always get stuck in the animations while fighting. That happens all the time. The lack of a real health bar for both the player and the opponents is annoying. The fact that your power is required being refilled every 10 seconds is annoying. The game constantly makes you zip across the ground trying to zip between enemies, and half of the time you're either left swinging at the air or you're just left being zipped to a place you never wanted to go to. And then you're being trapped in a bad animation, which happens a lot. You're trapped in bad animations a lot, in my opinion, during combat. And when you're fighting big groups, which is like 80% of the combat in this game, the visual clutter on the screen almost becomes unmanageable. The visual clutter gets, like, it's not Marvel Rivals level, but the visual clutter does get to a point where it's like, what the fuck is that? Like, what the fuck are we doing? And so for those reasons, and for like other like smaller reasons as well, like, I just did not like the combat, especially especially when you compare it to the games that were coming out at the time. You're gonna disagree with this, I know you are. I think it pales in comparison to the Arkham combat system, and I just don't see how, like, outside of the story, it could compare to games like that. I just don't.
I think the Arkham combat system is just not good. I think it's extremely overrated. That's the first thing.
Well, we could agree to disagree. I don't think this combat system is good.
I'm just gonna say this is 100% a skill issue. I'm gonna be so for real with you, because
like, yeah, I guess, bro. But it's like
this is 1,000,000% a skill issue, because the entire game is fostered. And I know you played it on the regular difficulty. I played it on the hardest difficulty, so I can say there not being a health bar is annoying. But there's also a very clear visual indicator when you're low on health. That's like complaining about there not being a health bar in the old Call of Duties. It's like, yes, there's a very clear visual indicator that when you're low on health and when you need to hide. And also, the bad animations, I can agree with you, it happens sometimes, but that is something that you learn to work around, especially once you...
Okay, but listen to me. If you have to learn to work around it, that does not excuse it.
Okay, but let me finish what I was saying. You need to know which combos to do. The melee attack is not your primary attack. It should never be. That's part of the reason why you were having problems. I know it was. Because the melee attack is not your primary attack.
Well, then if your melee attack is not the primary attack, what's your primary attack? The range attacks? The range attacks get depleted after 10 seconds.
Not if you upgrade yourself.
Yeah, I would upgrade every single time. That shit, it was still an issue, bro. I'm sorry. There's nothing you're going to tell me. I don't care if you say it's a skill issue or not. There's nothing you're going to tell me that is going to convince me this combat system was good.
I think it's actually significantly better than the Arkham. I think it's significantly better and more engaging than any of the Arkham games.
I just don't agree.
I think there's way more to do with it. I think it creates a way more interesting and creative combat scenario where you're allowed to do more. Like, I'll agree with you that Arkham has way better stealth. I'll agree with you that I think the best part about the Arkham games is the stealth. But in terms of actual in-combat scenarios, this game completely clears, and I don't think it's close.
Again, that's your opinion. I just disagree completely. I don't like the combat system at all. I can't stand it. The animations are annoying. The health bars are annoying. The fact that the visual clutter is the biggest one for me. It is insanely annoying.
The visual clutter is, because my thing is, the visual clutter, I can agree with you because there are points where there's a large amount of people on the screen, but the whole point is that you're supposed to avoid that.
Bro, outside of boss fights, you're fighting in big groups almost all of the time. And even when you're not inside of the big group, because you're taking down like a DUP base, there's always just like visual stuff coming in and around you because there's ranged enemies and there's enemies that are right next to you, and then there's ones that are that's what they're trying to that's the entire environment they're trying to foster with their combat system. Is you're one man against an army, you can't just run in against everyone. That's why you have the ult. If you run in a big group and have people around you without your ult, you're an idiot. Yes, bro, and I'm saying there's zero reason as to why, even if you're actively avoiding the big group, the visual clutter should still be an issue. And it is. I'm sorry, bro. It is. So that's for those big reasons, I don't like the combat system. And I knew you were going to disagree, but honestly, I don't care. I just don't like it, bro.
I'm gonna be honest, that's a 100% just you thing. I'm gonna be so serious.
Okay, fair enough. I think that you saying that the Arkham combat system is bad is just a you thing. As well.
It's not just a me thing. It's
no,
actually,
I
it's
think,
pretty consistent.
No, it's not, because the Arkham combat system is so good that literally everyone has been asking for it in pretty much every game since the Arkham games have come out.
It's pretty consistently like not that engaging. It takes about 4 buttons to do it, or 2 buttons to actually do it.
Not if you actually know what you're doing. No.
It takes about 2 buttons to do it consistently.
No, it doesn't.
Like, it takes about 2 buttons to do it consistently. I promise you.
No, it doesn't. You haven't played the Arkham.
Yes, I have. I have played the Arkham game.
Have you played Asylum?
I haven't played.
Have you played City?
I played one of them a long time ago, but I've played.
You played one of them. There's 4 games.
It's the same combat system in all 4.
Bro, no, it evolves over time. Number 1 and number 2, it is not the same. It is not the exact same. It is just not. But either ways, we can agree to disagree, bro. I don't like this combat system. It is what it is.
All right, my last one, and this one isn't really with the main game. This is post-game content, and that is once you unlock the concrete power, it is. Did you ever play Lego Marvel Superheroes?
Yes.
Do you remember when you fight Galactus first? When you get Galactus, that's what the concrete power is.
Yeah.
You get it. You spend the whole game watching fucking Augustine basically erect mountains, destroying bridges, erect entire islands in the ocean with her concrete power, and then you get it. And then pretty much all of it, the best thing about it is that you can upgrade your durability. So you get a larger health bar. That's pretty much the best thing about it. You get a worse dash than the neon one. You get a worse you get a worse primary shot than pretty much everything. Your melee is worse than the TV one. It's just a letdown as a thing that you've been working towards the whole game. Like, yes, it serves its purpose in the plot once you get it, but when you're actually using it, and then you can only absorb it from dupe officers. So it makes it like when you're fighting like a million of them, it makes it like a pretty good power. But like, it's not that good. Like, I think it's the worst power that you get.
I have only one more left. And that's that the game was released in 2014. And like, especially in certain aspects, I think you could definitely tell. And there was one thing I'm going to specifically talk about is the movement system when you're trying to get just in and around whatever area you're in can be very like inconsistent at times in terms of like trying to like climbing buildings can be annoying, or if you're not climbing the buildings and you're trying to use the dash or the fume pipe to go up the thing, whatever, there's a lot of times when like landing it will force you to land on a railing, and then it will force you to there are many times when like I found myself just being it sounds like very small things, which it is, but they accumulate over time where it's like going from point A to point B definitely feels like a fucking chore 90% of the time, in my opinion. So like the movement system is one thing, and like as well as just the smoothness of a lot of the gameplay in general has to do with obviously the combat system, which is like just zipping around places, and the like a lot of the gameplay has to do with the fact that like they're trying to be intuitive by saying like, because you're close to this, we're gonna make you leech onto this thing, whether it's a railing or like a ledge to hang on to, or like a nearby enemy, whatever it is. Like, a lot of the time it's just forcing you to move places, and like the smoothness of the gameplay does feel a little bit hindered because of that, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I can agree with you on the railing shit and stuff like that.
Like, I don't know, but that's the end of my cons. I don't have that many cons. Like, most of the cons just have to do with a lot of the gameplay aspects, specifically the combat system. But like I said before, moving on to the pros, pretty much all my pros are going to be about the story, because that's the primary part of a fucking story-based game, in my opinion. Is that even if the combat system is terrible, which in my opinion it is, I'm willing to kind of excuse it to a certain degree because I think the story's good. So, do you want to start with your pros?
I'm sure. I'll start with a small one. I really like the way that they have the conduit power set up to work. Especially Delsin's, where he absorbs it. He can go into their memories and shit like that. But when I wrote this down, I was more so referencing how, like, Augustine, how she can give small bits of her powers to her subordinates. Yeah. And then depending on, like, how strong, I guess, the subordinate is, they end up becoming a different rank of soldier. So, like, the basic soldiers can do, like, basically, they can do a jump, and that's it. And then you have the big guys, and then you have the guys who can, like, have the whole fucking concrete tornado under them while they're going around. I thought that was just a really cool, like, developmental system of that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I do think that there's a lot of good concepts within the stories. Like, my first one is that I think the background stories with each conduit as a whole were all pretty good and well written, especially Fetch and Hank. That one was good too. But like, I do think that like they kind of did a good job at matching their conduit powers with their backstories, in terms of like the backstories that the character had matched up with the power that they were given to a certain degree. And I think that was just good writing. And like even with like Eugene, the fact that he's a League of Legends player and his powers are like the TV stuff are like it is like
it's cool.
It is good writing from that aspect. And so I think that there would like the concept of conduits are and the powers that they specifically give the characters within this story, all of them are great concepts. Pretty much like all of them like are good concepts in my opinion. I think Augustine's ability to give, like you just referenced, Augustine's ability to give her power, like fragments or fractions of her power to her subordinates, is something that isn't really done very often in just like superhero media in general. Like most super powered villains aren't, like you don't see them doing that as a whole usually. And as well as the fact that like I just think that the writing across the board between the characters, between the main ones at least, are very good as a whole in my opinion. Like specifically the background stories, because that's what I wrote down for my pro.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Can I pause it? Nah. Here, I'll go to my next one. I'll go with the side content. I actually think the little side missions, I think they actually balance those really well. Of them, like obviously there is one actual side mission with the paper trail and stuff like that, but I'm talking about more of those like the cameras.
Yeah.
It's like they're balanced really well, where it's something you can go do and it take a few minutes of your time, and it like be like decently fun to do, and it not feel like it takes forever.
Yeah, that's true. I'll say the
Pause it.
You know, I'll say I'll move on to my next one, in that this is probably the biggest pro of the entire game, in my opinion. I think it was something that from the beginning of the game was probably already the best aspect of the game, in my opinion, in that the dynamic between Delsin and Reggie is very good, especially with there's a lot of subtext there in that dynamic, that if you're able to not just see it at a surface level, it's very reminiscent of like kind of like an X-Men kind of thing, where there's a very clear conflict between them when it came to Reggie's prejudices against conduits, which makes like his sacrifice at the end of the game mean so much more, because I think that the the fact that he is so against conduits, even after Delsin becomes a conduit, it like there's a lot of like subtext there in terms of like this might sound weird, but like say like you find a racist person who finds a black person who's quote unquote one of the good ones. It was a little bit like that, where it's like
you could have just used an X-Men example, man.
or like
you could have just used an X-Men.
Yeah, but like
example.
an X-Men example is derivative of that as well.
Yeah.
So
No,
like, but you get what I'm
do-
trying to say. It's like it is a matter
I do
of
agree with
like,
you. I'm not entirely sure of how this entire universe came to be, but I would be very shocked if they didn't look at the X-Men and use that as a main basis point for the
yeah, for
universe.
sure, they definitely did.
And actually, I'm going to transfer that into my next point.
Okay.
Because I really like Delsin and Reggie. I think the most interesting character is actually Augustine.
Really, okay.
I think when you see Augustine's backstory, when you absorb her powers, I think it's so interesting because she goes and she says, I'm doing everything for my people. Like, she thinks she's doing the right thing for conduits by keeping them contained and all of that. Even though when we see from Hank's perspective, you know, I can't even wipe my own ass. Like, they have constantly the shackles on. Or you have Fetch being trained to kill. They're using her traumas against her. Or you have Eugene being tortured so that the angels will come out and try and save him. But Augustine is there. And if you shoot in her backstory, she was one of the first people to awaken. She awakened with this little girl. And the option, as a military member, she was split between her race and her duty. So she chose her duty as a cover for her race. And she then created the dupes, and that's why she was so focused on getting Delsin, and that's why I think it's almost hinted that she let Hank escape. She let Hank escape from that truck in the beginning, so she can prove to the government that the DUPs need Augustine. Because Hank broke through, and obviously we saw that whole rampage he caused all the way back to Seattle. And then all of that, and then Fetch and Eugene, same thing. That whole rampage they caused, proving to the military who were trying to defund the DUP and to retake control of all of the conduits in Curtin K, proving to them that, like, I'm the one who needs to be in control. And she's not doing that of some petty power play. She's doing that because she thinks she's the only one who has it in her to make, in her opinion, the right decision for the future of her kind. And I think that's just a really good concept for a main villain, and I think they actually delivered on it really good. Especially with her power, her being the strongest conduit, being able to do practically anything with her concrete power, destroying massive bridges, erecting islands, like literally covering the entire main tower that you end up fighting her in concrete.
I mean, I just don't think it's better than the writing between Delsin and Reggie, but I see what you mean. My next one has to do with that. I think that this game gets off to a very good start. I think that the story gets off to a very strong start, because
It's definitely one of my favorite opening sequences.
Because I think, yeah, the thing with the story that gets off to such a strong start for me is obviously you're making Delsin and Reggie's neighborhood become infected with Augustine's powers, and it sets up the main conflict of the story, right? The main plot of the story. But it does also it's a very good transition into kind of introducing you to like the world of this universe, and like kind of the rules and like what is like how everything works. I think that the way that you're introduced to conduits as a whole is very interesting, because from a certain perspective you could almost say that the writing for why people don't like them isn't good enough. But you could also, but the reason why I don't think that is because it's very clear that, like, I feel like the game does not shy away from this at all. There is no inherent reason for people not to like the conduits. The reason why they don't like them is because they're told not to like them.
Propaganda.
Which is the same thing you see with X-Men. It's the same shit you see with a lot of other...
Same shit you see in real life.
Yeah, it's the same shit you see with a lot of other superhero media that's derivative of that kind of stuff in real life, is that there is no real reason to dislike these people, right? And you see it with Delsin, where even if you go down the good karmic side with Delsin, there's still going to be plenty of times where NPCs, people in the story, whatever it is, don't view him that way.
I will say...
Because of the fact that, like, the inherent propaganda, whatever it is. And I think they did a very good job of not kind of like sugarcoating the fact that, like, there is nothing inherently wrong with these people. It's the fact that they were born a certain way.
I will say, this is another thing with Augustine and Delson, the way they collide. And it's like, Augustine, whether you're good or evil, Augustine is the martyr. Either she's proven right when you take the evil path, or she's proven wrong. So I really like that as well. And I'm going to go into character design really fast. And this is the main reason I really disagree with you with Delson. I was saving it. I think, normally I'm not one to harp about representation or shit in a game. I think they could not have made a better choice than making Delson Native American in this game. Because the Native American community, by aspect of history, by aspect of how the Trail of Tears, everything that's happened in American history, are a trapped community. They have their reserved lots, and their community can't expand beyond that unless they move out of the community. Obviously that's not exactly what it is. That's just a very, very brief description of it. But you're taking a very rebellious natured person who feels trapped in his community, essentially, which is why he's going for the propaganda. He's training and you're making him become trapped in a different community. That's why when he first gets his powers, one of the first things he says when he interacts with Reggie is he's basically crying, and he's going, "I'm one of them now, man," because he's realizing now because he thinks the Akomish are the only people. The Akomish were the only people who were going to accept him before, because we stick out for each other, whatever. He thinks now that he's a conduit, they won't stick up for him. Obviously, he's then proven wrong by that, which is what spurs him to kind of gain faith in his powers. And that's when we see him kind of get that cocky attitude at the start when they're traveling towards Seattle, where he goes like, "I'm going to get new powers. This is sick. This is awesome." All of that. I think making him Native American was a really good choice to the story. And I think it creates one of the most interesting endings. So, you don't know this, I don't think, because you did good karma, right, when you played? If you do evil karma and you max out your karmic level to level 5, I think InFamous is the max level. I think that's what it is. Mm-hmm. The ending scene, normally you just get rejected by the Akomish and you leave. If you're max karma, you know what he does? He does the smoke ultimate on the Akomish longhouse. Basically meaning, and it kind of just goes into that fact of like, the power corrupts his mind. So it's like he's going from being super trapped and then feeling even more trapped to basically the power being the wings, which is why I think the ravens being on the back of his jacket, whether it's the good raven or the bad raven, which goes back to the Chinese yin and yang. Another symbol for that is the ravens. I think his character design is just really flawless across the board. I think the chains going into his powers, whether it's the light sword or the massive greatsword TV or just the chains covered in smoke.
I mean, yeah, it is what it is. I think that my next one, I think that the voice acting as a whole, especially for Delson and Reggie, was done really well. I think that, especially at the beginning, like the beginning opening sequence where you're being introduced to the world for the first time Delson gets his powers, the first time like Reggie does not have a lot of lines in that beginning of like his reaction towards it. Like they
animate him well though.
I'm not saying he has none, but like the lines that he does have to Delson at that start of the game when he becomes this new person, obviously, in a very short amount, he's able to convey so much in terms of like that, like they're able to have such little lines for Reggie in those moments, while still being able to convey that he is heavily conflicted, because his whole life he's basically been told that these people are like the worst possible thing you could be, and now the person he loves the most in his brother is one of those people. And so now it's like it's hard for him to make that distinction, because even throughout most of the game, he doesn't call them conduits. He calls them all bioterrorists. Yeah. Even like when you go get fetched, it's the same thing. When you go get
he only ever calls them conduits before he dies.
Yeah. The only time he doesn't say the word bioterrorist is when he's talking to Delson about Delson. Yeah. That's the only time, because he doesn't want to view his brother in that way, but deep down he thinks that's what his brother is. Every single time Delson does anything remotely negative in his in Reggie's eyes, he starts to think that he's becoming one of them.
And I think that there's actually one really interesting line, I don't know if you remember it, that really plays into that, is when you're chasing Hank after Reggie dies, there's a scene where you know how you have those investigations where you have to take pictures and send them to Reggie and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene where you take a picture of some of the people Hank has killed. And Reggie directly says, he goes, oh, so this is what it looks like when you... And he stops there. I think like that creates a really... And he sounds like... he sounds like scared, I guess is the word. It's... I think the voice acting was really good. I think it's underrated as well.
Yeah.
Which is why I want to go back to you can't judge stuff only on voice acting. Invincible season 4.
Bro.
Okay, hold on. How much time we at?
We're at 35.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Hello. Okay. Unfortunately, that was a very awkward pause. I'm sure you guys noticed. We recorded an entire like 2 minutes talking about the game's karmic system without noticing that it fucking cut out completely. Basically, what we said after we talked about how good the voice acting was. The karmic system in this game is obviously very good.
One of the bravest games to ever do it.
Yeah, one of the bravest games to ever do it. It's very in depth. One of the only games at the time that was probably doing something similar was probably the Force Unleashed games, but probably not to the same extent.
Yeah, they didn't get close to this.
I think they got they did it good, but not to this extent.
So I'll just go over some things that we didn't mention there. There's a lot of little details with the karmic system, like especially so you know how your smoke is normally like that brownish orange color.
Yeah.
If you go and you do evil karma, it turns red, the same color that Hank's is, which is how you see like, oh, Hank is evil, stuff like that. Or like if you're max a good karma, people are gonna start cheering when they see you. If you're max evil karma, they're gonna start running away. Like there's a lot of small details they incorporate into the actual just world itself. Which is like other games have done that, but I don't think there are many games that have incorporated everything that they have.
Yeah, I do think that it is just very good, and I said this like when we were fucking recording it earlier, but every single game could be benefited by a good karmic system that's handled properly because it just adds another layer of complexity onto your story.
Every single game has the story for it.
I don't even think. Like,
I wouldn't say
I would make an argument that most story games have a place for it if you do it properly.
I don't think Spider-Man 1 does. I think Spider-Man 2 does. I would say that. Like, there are some games
like unless it's a certain type of character like a Spider-Man, I think most of the time there's space for it. But yeah, I do think the karmic system is obviously just very good. We talked about it earlier about how supposedly, if you believe certain rumors, certain leaks, whatever, Jedi 3, the third Kyle Kestis game, is going to have another karmic system, so it might improve on Force Unleashed, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're just going to skip past that a little bit.
Yeah, because I'm out of pros. I don't have any more pros left.
I have a few more. Some of them are small, and then I'm going to give my opinion on one of your cons.
Okay.
So, one I really liked is Dilson's jacket. I like how you can earn different customizations for it beyond just the 2 ravens. But I'm talking specifically about how your level of infamy or notoriety will affect what your jacket looks like, whether it's good and you get all the way to true hero, or you go bad from anarchist to fucking infamous. I think it looks really good. I think when you see one raven or the other, I think it's just a really good looking thing, especially in the red and blue. The ultimate abilities, I think, are extremely cinematic. I think the smoke drop is the worst one, but I still think that one's pretty freaking cool, especially when you get it on the tower, when you unlock it. The neon one, which I think is just bad. You lift everyone in the air and you just fucking blow them all up. Or the TV one, where you literally just summon a down torrent of fucking angels and demons, and they like dive bomb. I like the 2 endings, the good ending, the bad ending. I mean, like I said earlier, it really is, it's just, you're kind of going down the different paths of Delsin, where Delsin is going to be free no matter what. In his journey, he's going to be free. He's going to have evolved from where the trapped place he was at the start. It's just a matter of, is he going to be free and be aiding the freedom of the rest of his people, or is he just going to be doing what Augustine was, but worse, essentially? Because Augustine was keeping the people safe in her own twisted way. Delsin, down his evil path, is, while he's living his own life to absolutely the fullest, is going to be putting down his entire race for pretty much the rest of their existence. Yeah, Fetch's story, I mean, with Brent and all of that, I think that's just really fucking good.
Yeah.
I think when you first walk into her little lair and you see the neon Brent with all of the shit, I think that just everything was good. Obviously, they made a whole spin-off game of her story because of how much people liked it. Which the First Light, which I haven't personally played that game, but from what I've seen of it, it looks amazing. It's basically like a really long DLC.
Yeah, I do think Fetch was probably one of the best parts of the story for me.
Yeah, especially when you fuck her.
Yeah, but that's not.
Okay, no. But seriously, I mean,
that was definitely just thrown in there, though.
No, you could tell that they were gonna. Like, she's the only female character that's not the antagonist. Like, you could tell they were gonna do a romance no matter what.
Yeah, but
especially because they're both kind of really similar people. They're both kind of rebellious natured. Like,
yeah, I honestly would have preferred if they just didn't, though. I'll be honest, but it's whatever.
I don't think it took away anything. I think it was.
I think it took away.
I think it was just there.
Yeah.
And then here's my opinion on the combat system.
Okay.
I think the combat system. I think it is extremely engaging because it fosters something different. There's no parry button, there's no dodge button. You have to be smart with how you're moving. You can't just go hide behind cover and heal, because unless you hide behind an entire building, every single piece of cover in this game is destructible. So you have to be very smart, you have to be constantly on the move, and you can't just, unless you have your ultimate, you can't just go into big crowds. You have to be smart. Like me personally, when I'm going, I'll be trying to get on roofs. I'll take the snipers out first, and then when someone jumps up to the roof or something like that, you have to work out from your way in. It creates you aren't just going in there and then reacting to what they do, clicking buttons. You have to go in with a game plan. You have to establish your strategy, what you're doing. And I think it's really interesting how they make it to where you can swap between powers. So if I walk in with a neon power, blow up a car, absorb smoke, then use smoke instead for that sort of power. I think that creates fluidity when you're doing it properly. I think it fosters creativity. It fosters a different type of combat system that is way more engaging, especially once you have the feel for the game, which I think after a few hours, once you get the feel for the game, I think it gets even more enjoyable.
I have one big disagreement there. I cannot stand that you can't switch between powers. I cannot stand that you have to absorb it. Because if you get unlucky enough to not have a thing to absorb, it becomes very annoying very quickly.
I can agree with you, but that also kind of goes with the thing of you have to always be monitoring how much fuel you have and what's nearby. That's why the mini map exists, because if that part of the game wasn't there, I don't think you would have a mini map. I doubt they would give you a mini map just for enemies.
Maybe I do think they still give you a mini map just because of how much stuff there is throughout the map. But I do think that it is a matter of I found myself getting very annoyed a lot of times at the fact that you do a lot if for whatever reason one of your missiles don't hit, or for whatever reason you have to use more of your fuel than you would like to, it makes it very annoying that you can't switch with just a button or with a command. It makes it very annoying, and it makes it especially more annoying when you have to fight in an area that is not close to the refill that you need. So if you're fighting in an area that only has light and you want to use smoke, then you're done.
Well, yeah,
you can't switch, and that annoys me, because in almost every other game that you get different powers, you are able to switch between them. Every other game, whether it's different powers, different weapons, different whatever, you're able to at least you're able to switch between them as you go throughout combat for the most part in those games. That is one of the things that I found myself getting very annoyed a lot of times because of the fact that you had to absorb it to switch.
I'm not even gonna say anything about that.
What you disagree?
Yes, because that's the aspect of what Delsin's power is. Just because you want to use smoke, it's not an aspect of, oh, I want to use smoke, but it's not here. It's an aspect of you use what you have. He's there surviving by himself against an entire army.
Okay, narratively, I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm saying from a gameplay perspective, it does get very annoying.
I mean, maybe it's annoying, but it's supposed to make you more resourceful in what you're doing. It's supposed to force you to be resourceful and act like you're scrounging. That's what you're supposed to be doing.
That's great. I just think that you're already making the combat system the way it is, where you already have to foster creativity in that way. I think in order to make the combat more engaging, it would be a lot more engaging, in my opinion, if you could seamlessly switch and combo between powers.
So you just want the game to be easier. You think it'd be More engaging if the game.
I think the game would be more engaging if you could use your different powers together in a combo, or if you could seamlessly learn how to use your powers together at the same time. Yes, I think that would be more engaging. I don't think it's a matter of being easier or more convenient, even though yes, it would be more convenient if you could just switch instead of fueling. My thing is, I think you should be able to switch, but I think your level of how much fuel you have should stay the same. So in my opinion, the way I would do it is that if you're using smoke and you run out of smoke, you could switch to light, but you're still going to be running out of light. I think that the shit should stay the same. You should be able to switch between them, though. Yes, I do believe that. But yeah, I don't have any more pros. You have any more pros?
We've already pretty much said everything that I have.
Okay, well, we went on for like way longer than I thought we were gonna go for this segment, so that's pretty good.
But stay tuned. The next game we're gonna be doing is South Park: The Fractured Butthole.
No. But if you're on YouTube, the second segment of this episode will be uploaded at 8 p.m. the day this video gets released on Sunday. If you're on Spotify, just wait a few seconds and we'll start our second segment. And if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and please watch our second segment, and we'll see you guys in a bit.